In the previous video, I showed you how you could make a turntable and create a nice render of it. I'm going to show you one more way that you can make a video, but this time we're going to be making a playblast. I'm not going to go through the whole process of animating the object spinning because you can watch my previous video to get all of that. We're simply going to look at another way to render a movie file. Now, let me just explain very quickly what a playblast is. A playblast is really just a quick and easy render. It's not intended to be a high quality render. In fact, the render quality is going to be exactly what we see here in our viewport. In fact, what it's going to render is whatever current viewport I'm working in. So for instance, if I'm in this viewport and I create a playblast, it's going to make it from this viewport. Or if I were to make it from this viewport and I kept this in wireframe, it's going to make my render look like this as a wireframe. Okay? Or if I were type 5 and show this in shaded mode, it'll create a video render that will look like this, or with textures or with lights. But the thing to take note of is that the quality of this render is not going to be the same as if we were to do a proper render. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and render it from the very same camera that I had used for my previous video. But there are a couple things I would like to point out to you. Again, what you see more or less is what you are going to get with this render. So what that means is that we're going to have this gray background. We're going to have this grid in it. We're going to have, in fact, this border in it. We can still set it to render at these dimensions, this 1920 by 1080. But if I leave this on, it's going to create a render with that border. So if I don't want that border, what I'm going to do is actually turn off the resolution gate. And if I don't want to have that grid in it, then I'm going to come in here and go Show, and I'm going to hide that grid. So then when I do my render, it's going to look like this. Okay, so let's take a look at how we want to create a playblast for this. What I'm going to do is right-click in my timeline here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and change this to 119. This time, because if you remember, we changed our actual render to 119. I'm going to do it here because the thing to keep in mind is with the playblast, it's going to render whatever your timeline is set to. That's what it's going to render as. So let's go ahead and create this playblast. I'm going to right-click in my timeline, go to Playblast, open up this option box for its settings. Let me go ahead and reset it so that it'll be at its default so that you can see the changes that I make to it. For display size, I don't want to do from window, and I'll tell you why. If I do from window, and if I pull this up like this, it's going to render it out at this dimension here. It's going to render out this very elongated dimension that's going to look just like this. Or if I were to drag this out like this and drag it like this, and this is my active window here, it's going to render it out just like that. Okay, and that's not what I want to do. I want to render it out at the setting that I had established in the render settings. So to do that, I'm going to change display size to from render settings. The other thing is that currently scale is set to 50%, so it's going to do it actually at half the size of my render settings. If I want it to render at the full size, I need to bring that to 1, so it's 100%. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say save to file, so that it'll actually save it to a location where I can find it. And we'll go ahead and browse and we'll save it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and save it in that very same place where my other renders went to. And we'll just call this one playblast, or maybe Teddy playblast. And we'll save it. And we're now ready to create our playblast. So let's go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and hit the apply button here, and it will create our very quick and easy render. And there it is. Doesn't look bad. It's not as nice as the really high quality render that we got from the previous example, but for something that's very quick, very easy, this could be acceptable. Now there are a couple of ways that we could make it look a little nicer if we wanted. We could change the background here. To do that, I would simply go to Windows, Settings Preferences, Color Settings, and change my working view to, well, something darker like that. That might make it punch out a little more, look a little nicer. And then if I want to set it back to the default color, because maybe I don't want to work with it with these dark colors here, I'll simply return to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Color Settings, and I'll just go to Edit, Reset to Defaults. Okay, let's go check out our playblast and see how it looks. I'm going to go back to my Explorer here. Actually, that's not the Explorer. Let me open it up. Here we go. Navigate to where my project is, images, and here it is. Here's my playblast. Now you'll notice it is also a very large file size. It's 705 megabytes. If we open it up, we take a look at it, you'll see. Not as nice a quality render, but still a good way to show your 3D models. Again, if you were to use this method rather than the better high quality render method that I showed you in the previous video, you would still need to compress this video. You would still need to compress it because this 705 megabytes is really too large for being able to conveniently upload and for me to be able to conveniently download, especially when I'm dealing with lots of student work. Which is why I request that you go through those few easy steps to compress it. I'm going to run through those steps one more time so that you'll definitely remember how to do it, so that when you give me your playblasts, they'll be a good file size. So let's go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to return to that video editor software. We'll go ahead and start a new project for this. I'll call it Playblast Turntable. Add our video in here. Here it is. Drag it in here. Looks good. I'm not going to bother dragging in two more of these. We're just going to check it out with this single rotation here in our video. So I will go to Finish Video, Export, and we'll go ahead and keep that same name and export it out. And there it is. Let's go check out the file size. I just need to open up Explorer, navigate to where it is, and the original, the AVI, is, well, actually, let's see, I think I got the wrong one here. So the original is 705 megabytes, and it is an AVI. And this new one is, oh, it's about 18.9 megabytes, so actually larger than I thought it would be, but still considerably smaller than our original AVI here. Anyway, that's how you can compress your video to make it better for you to upload and for me to download. Anyway, hope this video will be beneficial for you, and thank you for watching.